You know what I just thought of?
What?
Jim the Fish.
Yeah.
If this version of the Doctor is immediately prior to the Impossible Astronaut, then who was Jim the Fish?
Maybe Jim the Fish is in the lake.
Oh, that would be a good place for him, wouldn't it?
Yes, of course.
Jim the Fish will answer all.
Oh, man. I don't care about the Doctor's averting death anymore. I just want to find out about Jim the Fish.
Right. Jim the Fish will solve the financial troubles. I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is the Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
Thoughts on closing time. Louis, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, I had kind of, I sort of had mixed feelings about this episode, actually.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Go on.
No, I mean, I thought it was a good story and everything. I just didn't think that it was... I thought it felt kind of... I don't know. It seemed sort of... it seemed like there was... it seemed like it was very much a... Or it seemed for the most part a self-contained story. And I guess it just didn't meet my expectations, is my problem.
What are your expectations?
Well, I sort of thought that bringing back Craig would be somehow significant. And it didn't really seem to be. It just kind of seemed like, I mean, like, when they bring a character back, I kind of expect to sort of, I don't know. Like, I sort of, I have expectations on what I want that character to do, or you know, for a story. And I just don't really feel that this offered what I expected, I guess, from that, I guess.
I guess it was for the most part self-contained, but it also fits where it goes. Like, you couldn't have put this episode anywhere else.
Well, true. Oh, I also don't really like, or I wasn't really thrilled about the Cybermen in this episode, because it just sort of seemed like they came back and then, you know, this sort of, they were defeated, and it was never, I don't think it was ever really clearly explained what their, you know, intentions were, or, well, I guess was, you know, the usual, but the usual is kind of boring. Or how they got there, or things like that. I thought it was just kind of, it just sort of felt weird to me to have the Cybermen there when they didn't really have any sort of, they didn't really seem like much of a threat, I guess.
You know, they were, I mean, they were sort of like the B plot of the episode.
I suppose, yeah.
Like, you needed there to be some kind of threat for the Doctor and Craig to deal with, but that threat could have been anything.
Right.
Like, it didn't have to be the Cybermen. And I think in terms of the role they needed to play, they played it pretty well, but there was nothing about this episode that screamed like, oh, you need the Cybermen here because the Cybermen are like the best possible villain for this story. I think I have a feeling that probably it was probably just cheaper for them to use the Cybermen than it would be for them to make an entirely new thing.
Yeah, and I guess I was just expecting the Cybermen to do something, or to somehow be significant in this episode.
Yeah, I could see how that could be a complaint that a person might have. I actually enjoyed the episode a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was I thought that it was a pretty good way to sort of like decompress after the run of incredibly complicated and or surreal episodes that have been so far this autumn. Like with Let's Kill Hitler, you got the twisty turdy timey wimey romance, and then you go straight into Night Terrors, which I mean, it's not incredibly complex, but it's got this sort of like surreal horror, you like fake landscape of the mind kind of thing to it, and then you go to The Girl Who Waited, which is more twisty turdy timey wimey romance, and then you go to the God Complex, which is another like surreal landscape of the mind, but this is just like, you know, it's sort of sitcom-y almost, and it was a nice change of pace before we go into next week's episode, which is undoubtedly going to be incredibly twisty turny, confusey, everything but the kitchen sink.
I suppose. I guess another thing that sort of that I was hoping for was some sort of some sort of advance with regard to the fact that the Lodger TARDIS appeared earlier in this season, and I was hoping we would get something with that, just because it was Craig, but I don't really know if that was unrealistic of me to hope for that.
Yeah, because I mean, I had kind of hoped for that as well, especially when we first heard that Craig was coming back this year, because, I mean, one of the things that a lot of people noticed in the original trailer was the Lodger TARDIS, so I kind of had the assumption early on that, oh, the Lodger TARDIS is coming back, and Craig from the Lodger is coming back, so maybe they're connected. But, you know, now that I really think of it, there's no reason why they would be. Because the Lodger TARDIS left at the end of that episode, and it was never, like, particularly connected to Craig. It's just...
True.
It just happened to coincide there. But yeah, I did kind of, I don't know that I had that expectation, but it's something I had been kind of wondering about, and the answer was no.
Because, I mean, it seems to me, I don't really understand. I mean, this is something that could be, you know, explained in the finale, but I don't really understand what its purpose was. Like, I don't think that that's ever been clearly explained. I mean, I know that they were sort of... I know that the implication was that they were building a Time Lord, or you know, that was... Or they were building something to... Well, they were sort of raising Melody as being this kind of weapon to kill the Doctor, but I don't really... It just seems like the Lodger TARDIS was kind of a thing that was there, but not really... It was never really shown to be for Melody or anything like that. I'm kind of wondering if that still has a role to play.
I've heard it suggested that the child's voice in the Lodger that is used to sort of entice people into the fake house or fake second floor of the house is the young child Melody Pond's voice. I don't know. I haven't rewatched the episode, so I mean I can't verify that personally, but I've heard people saying that. You know, that could just be something people say when they honestly have no idea. But yeah, I haven't rewatched The Lodger in a very long time, and so I don't really know what's going on there. I may go back and rewatch much of Moffat's Doctor Who after the season's wrapped up, because, you know, I'd like to go back and see if there are things that make more sense in retrospect or things that make less sense in retrospect. Yeah.
Well, and I certainly think that I don't know if this is going to be the end of the River Song story arc, but it certainly seems like it could be. And I think it would be cool to go back and rewatch all of River if nothing else. Possibly in order from her perspective.
Mm-hmm. Particularly given Moffat's comments that that Series 7 will be a lot less serialized than Series 5 and 6 were.
Right.
If that's not a complete lie, then one would have to assume that the storyline he's telling is going to wrap up next week.
Right. Yeah. And so obviously when I heard the episode, I mean, I don't know if we want to start transitioning into talking about next week, but
no, because I'm not done talking about the lodger.
Okay, well then the lodger?
Well, actually, no. I mean closing time.
Okay.
But actually, just like, how do you think this stacked up to the lodger in terms of, like, do you think it was worth bringing this character back at all?
Well, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, sure. I think it was fun to bring him back because I think he was a fun character. But I don't know if it was really I don't know if it was the best use of him.
Well, did you like it more than the lodger, less than the lodger?
I don't know. It had its moments. I did really like it for some of it. There were parts.
I think I liked it better than the lodger.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I just, I don't know. I really liked the lodger, actually. Actually, I think I liked the lodger a little bit more.
I think the lodger was funnier, but it also, the sort of most of the jokes in the lodger centered around the doctor being an idiot.
Right.
And he's not. I mean, the doctor isn't completely ignorant of 21st century Earth. And I mean, the notion that this alien would come to 21st century Earth and know a lot about Earth, but get a lot of things wrong and not be familiar with contemporary Earth. I mean, that's a sensible notion if you're just saying it's this alien, but it's not. It's the Doctor, and we know that the Doctor blends in well with humans. And he when he goes to the Ood sphere, he makes jokes about having a car thing on the top of the TARDIS. Like, in the end of time. And I mean, it's the Doctor knows what's up on 21st century Earth. And so that kind of annoyed me in the lodger, even while I thought it was really funny. I thought it was not true to the character of the Doctor. And I feel like in this episode, they found a lot more interesting ways to be like, okay, the Doctor is alien and he's completely different from Craig, and Craig has difficulty wrapping his head around this guy, in ways that are a little bit more creative than just, that's because the Doctor is an idiot regarding Earth. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. But, I mean, I sort of assumed that not necessarily that each regeneration has different memories, but maybe what I was thinking was that, like, the 11th Doctor sort of had different priorities and maybe didn't really care to be as conscious about what century he was in, whereas maybe the 10th Doctor and previous Doctors did.
I don't buy that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, like, in the God Complex, he comes into this hotel and he's like, this is clearly modeled after a hotel from the 1980s. And, like, things like that. I mean, the Doctor knows what's up.
I'm not saying he doesn't know what's up. I'm just saying he doesn't care.
Okay. I also like the Doctor speaking baby.
Yes, that's always humorous. I did enjoy that quite a bit. I enjoyed Stormageddon.
I think the only part of this episode that I really, really didn't like was the ending.
With River. Are you saying with the bit with River showing up in that scene, or are you talking like the climax?
I thought the stuff with River showing up. I saw that as completely pointless, because I mean, the big cliffhanger leading into the finale is that River is the one in the spacesuit at the bottom of the lake, and I mean, duh, that's not a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention. Right.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would have thought. I mean, I guess on the one hand, it's kind of, I guess it's sort of better than, leaving it a mystery and then sort of being I feel like if you're more upfront about it, then it's not. They sort of take away the focus on it, and I guess they can sort of focus on other things, I guess, or something. I don't know. I want to believe that this was. I mean, I didn't really like it that bit either. But I think that it serves a purpose.
I think it serves a purpose in that it gets people sort of psyched up for next week, because most of the finales are 2-part finales, and this is going to be Doctor Who's first 1-part series finale. And so that's, I guess they needed to have something in there that's going to sort of act as a prelude to that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I mean, I assumed that it was going to be River, but I thought that maybe because it was so very strongly implied that it was River in the spacesuit, I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't be.
And maybe it's still not.
True.
I mean, because we see River at the bottom of a lake in the spacesuit. I mean, maybe that'll change. Maybe there's more than one person in a spacesuit. Maybe she'll get out of the spacesuit and someone else is going to get in the spacesuit. I mean, we're still not there yet. But the thing is, the notion of River being in a spacesuit is not a very good cliffhanger, because it's not a surprising, or it just has no impact.
True. Well, it just seems like I do feel like they needed something. But I mean, I don't think that there could have been anything better than what they came up with. I mean, I don't think that they really had a good choice. But yeah, I don't know.
I probably just would have ended it with the Doctor and the Stetson. The Doctor putting the Stetson on and then going into the TARDIS and ominous music playing. It's probably what I would have done.
You know, ominous music is a good choice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I don't know. But
So anyway, one more left.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly seems like this is it. I mean, they have to, like, this is, I mean, it seems to me that this is the, what was it, 1100 and something year old Doctor, and that, you know, when he steps out of the TARDIS, you know, it's going to be, you know, Lake Silencio, or, well, wherever the heck he was when he, anyway, but, like, you know, so it seems like this is it.
Well, I mean, it is certainly the last episode of the series, so...
Right. But, it, you know, yes. Okay, fair enough.
There's something I'm kind of, like, relieved to report.
Oh?
You remember we were talking last week about the spoilers that I had seen on Good Morning America?
Yeah.
Well, the spoilers I've seen were in the trailer for next time. So I'm now on an equal footing with everyone.
Okay, then.
Basically, what I had seen was, and this was actually in the trailer, so quick you might even have missed it, but Winston Churchill.
Oh, yes.
And the Silurian Doctor.
Oh, yes, right.
I think they were the only thing that had been spoiled, or at least they're the only thing I can remember.
Ah. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. I guess. and I'm kind of wondering how that's going to fit into anything.
Right, yeah. It seems, you know, obviously, these are characters we haven't seen in a very long time. And I mean, I guess Winston Churchill was important, or at least kinda, sorta important in the previous season's finale. Although not really, I mean, not super important. He was just responsible for partially delivering the painting, Vincent's painting, to the Doctor.
Right.
It was more of a cameo than anything. So I suppose he could have a similar role in this finale, but I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea what to expect going forward, because nothing in the trailer sort of seems to have much to do with anything that in my mind I would expect to see from an episode about the Doctor going to Lake Silencio and then dying there.
Right, true.
Also, no, I don't think Amy and Rory were in the trailer.
No, I don't recall seeing them.
I wonder whether we're going to see them again.
That's true. I mean, like, it's... Well, I don't know. I mean, endorsing a perfume might take a lot of time.
I liked that. Did you catch the thing about the perfume?
Yeah, I did.
It was called Petrichor.
Yeah, right.
The smell of dust after rain. Yep, I enjoyed that.
I don't know if I'd wear it as a perfume. Well, I wouldn't wear a perfume, but I wouldn't. I don't know if that's a marketable perfume. But go ahead.
It's for the girl who's tired of waiting.
I guess so. I guess I would. I guess I haven't met any girls who are tired of waiting, so I wouldn't know what that.
No, everyone loves waiting, but I wonder how plausible it is that the Doctor would have worked in that department store for however long he was working there without having noticed that there is a giant Amy Pond face just staring there.
Well, that would fit in with my Doctor is oblivious theory.
I guess it would.
There you go.
So this is our last chance, I think, to predict what's going to happen in the finale.
Do
you have...
Well, I mean...
Do you have any...
I don't know. I mean, I would like to believe that this will somehow satisfactorily resolve this whole Doctor dying thing. And I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I want them to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. Because first of all, I don't believe Stephen Moffat when he says that next year is going to be less serialized. I do not believe that. I think he's lying.
Well, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, my only prediction... You know what? No, I don't have any. I just have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, okay.
I honestly, I don't even have a prediction as to whether or not we're going to see Amy and Rory.
Well, I mean, it's weird though, because, as you said, we've never had a one-part finale before. We've always sort of had some sense of what was going to have to be resolved in the second part, but we've got nothing.
Right. Well, okay, so I think we are gonna see Amy and Rory in recycled footage from The Impossible Astronaut.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I'm wondering whether somehow the Doctor's death is going to be averted, and as a result, that will change the timeline. And the Doctor will just go off with that version of Amy and Rory again.
That would be interesting. I mean...
And so he'd be basically plucking out an earlier version of Amy and Rory from a changed timeline prior to anything that happened this year. Although presumably that would be a ganger Amy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Well, he could go and solve that too, probably. Or something.
I guess.
I don't know. Heck, if he's screwing with time again, anything's possible. But
Also, I think we're going to find out that something happened at the lake that we don't know about because there was a silence there.
That's true. I mean, I was thinking about it, and it occurred to me how much sense it made to have a silent there, because they were sort of semi-responsible, well, mostly responsible for, River. And obviously, I don't know, maybe the silent was just there, kind of checking on River to make sure she was still down at the bottom of the lake, or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, you're right, because I mean that does seem like a sort of, that seems like that would be a very good time to insert something, and like it would certainly give a plausible reason for why none of them remember it, or Amy anyways. Well, no, I guess anyone, because they wouldn't. Yeah, anyway, whatever. But yes.
Say, have you heard about Series 7 yet?
No.
Well, actually, let's back it up first. Have you heard about the Christmas special yet?
No.
I believe it's going to be set during, I forget which World War, but one of them.
Oh. Well,
I
they're all
forget
the
which
same,
one.
really.
Yeah, pretty much. World War One, World War Two, World War Three. Yeah, it's probably during World War Three, during the events of the Slovene attempted invasion.
That's so very Christmassy.
Yeah, exactly. But anyhow, it has some guest cast announced that I don't remember, but I'm sure they're great.
Okay.
But yeah, Series 7 is apparently starting in autumn of next year. Really? So that means that we're going to have to wait basically a whole year, assuming
That's
that...
not cool.
No, it's not cool. I agree. I guess the Christmas special, which is presumably going to air on December 25th.
Right.
And then we'll have to wait, I guess, probably until late August again.
Ugh. It's the worst.
It is. It is.
Why are they doing this?
I don't know. And, I've actually looked at interviews and such just to sort of satisfy my curiosity about, are Amy and Rory really coming back next year? Uh-huh. And I don't think it's ever been officially established that they're going to be members of the main cast next year.
Huh.
I believe that it's been said that they're going to be back in some capacity. But I don't know. I don't know if the extent of their involvement has ever been confirmed.
Huh. Interesting.
Maybe it has. Maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention.
Could be. Huh.
Anyhow.
That's interesting. Because you'd think, well, maybe not, but I would think, perhaps for no good reason, that they would, be, announcing that sort of thing. And it would be pretty easy to, I don't know.
Announcing what sort of thing?
That they were, returning.
Well, yeah, but given that the series isn't filming until next year, I mean, or isn't returning until next year, I assume it's not going to film until a while from now, so they don't need to announce that kind of thing.
Huh. Well, that's true. So I guess we'll just have to find out.
I guess we're going to find out eventually.
Well, we'll definitely find out by the time it airs.
Well, as long as we're paying close enough attention to the episodes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Would you care to talk about Fringe?
I would care. Wait, does that mean that I don't want to talk about it? No, I never. No, I never.
I don't know.
I never know because this like, would you mind? Did I just say that I don't want to talk about Fringe? Because I do.
I guess when I said, would you care? I guess what I'm really asking is, do you have an opinion about whether we should talk about Fringe? Like, do you care whether or not we talk about it?
Okay. Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
You got something to say?
I thought, a lot of Fringe I had watched, actually as it was airing, and I sort of stopped. I guess I stopped almost right before the finale, and so I sort of remembered what was going on, but I didn't really, I'd sort of forgotten about all this stuff. And so, obviously when they did the previously on Fringe, it all sort of came back, but it was sort of, I guess, it was a little bit confusing at first because I was sort of disoriented about what was going on, but ultimately I think that the finale was good and I liked it. And I sort of, now I'm confusing it. Oh, shoot. Wait. What was the... Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the finale was set in the future, right?
The finale was the one set in the future.
Okay, right. Now I'm getting... Yes. Yeah, I liked that. I thought that was cool.
I wasn't crazy about it.
Really?
Yeah, because I felt like it was a cop-out.
Yeah, okay.
Like instead of addressing, I mean, they're telling a story about two worlds, and instead of addressing the conflict between those two worlds, I mean, it just sort of flashes forward to the future and just tells this entirely different story about this disposable versions of these characters, and you sort of, I don't know, or at least I sort of got the impression that, all right, this world, this dystopia is not going to last, because otherwise why would we have flash forward to it? They're going to find some way to avert this disastrous future. This is what Heroes did. And it's what other things have done as well. Like a famous example is a storyline from X-Men in the 80s, I think. But so I just, and I didn't think these versions of the characters, like the future versions, I didn't find them really all that interesting. And then at the end, the ending of the episode just made me really mad.
Really?
Yes, really.
Okay. I liked the ending.
Okay. The ending of the episode is that Peter returns to the present and then uses the machine to stabilize the two worlds, right? So that one room is a connection between them, and otherwise they're separate, but it's stable and no one has to die or anything, right?
Right.
Okay. And then he tells them that they need to have a truce with one another. Right?
Right.
And then, while he's in the middle of telling them they need to have a truce with one another, he disappears, and in the worst bit of television writing I've ever seen, he disappears, and then they act as though he hasn't disappeared. They act as though nothing just happened, and then we sort of flash outside to a bunch of observers standing around, and they say, "And now Peter has never existed, and no one remembers that he ever existed." And then it's the end of the episode. Like, that is awful. That is such bad writing. It's like, no, you find a way to show us the fact that he never existed. You don't do that. You don't just have an all-knowing character explain what just happened. You find a better way to communicate it. And that made me mad on the one hand. On the other hand, If Peter never existed, how are the universes safe? Because who used the machine? If Peter never existed, who gave them the idea that they need to have a truce with one another? Considering the fact that the entire point of Peter going to the future was so that he could come back to the past and tell them that they needed to have a truce with one another. If Peter never existed, why did any of this happen? Because the entire reason anything has ever happened on Fringe is because of Peter. Because Walter stole Peter. Now, granted, in the series, season 4 premiere, that's sort of explained a little bit better. But just at the end of the season 3 finale, it just made me mad.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. I guess you have I mean, I'm not going to argue that you were wrong for being mad. You have the right to
I want you
be
to.
angered.
I want you to argue.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really see a problem with... I mean, I understand the idea of, showing rather than telling, but I don't know how you could have shown that. And certainly this isn't... I don't think this is your normal, never existed thingamawhatsit. I think this is a very specific brand of not existing, and certainly he wasn't completely erased from the universe.
No,
or universes.
I think in the season 4 premiere we learned that, or it's heavily implied that both Peters died instead of one of them being saved.
Okay.
That the impression I get is that Walter Prime, his Peter Prime, died, and then just like in the original timeline, that version of Walter attempted to steal, or he stole Peter. He stole Walternet's Peter, and that caused the problems, just like in the original timeline. The only difference is that Walter was in the real or the original timeline, Walter was successful in saving that version of Peter's life, whereas in this version he just failed again.
No, I did not pick up on that at all.
Really?
Really?
Well, maybe I'm just making assumptions.
Because I thought that maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like... Well, but are you saying that they explicitly said at some point, like, ever since his son died, he's never been the same?
Okay, it's possible that I'm drawing conclusions where they shouldn't necessarily be drawn, but I think... Well, obviously Walter still did something to destabilize the universes, because they still were destabilized and are now restabilized. Right. And obviously Walternet had some reason to do all the things he did, because it's still established that, all right, there were shapeshifters, and the shapeshifters were still reporting to Walternet. So Walternet has still been carrying out his vendetta against our universe. Also, right. When someone makes some comment saying, everyone dies, and then Walter says, some people die twice. And I think based on that line alone, I drew the conclusions I drew.
That's fair.
Because the thing is, I don't actually need an observer to tell me these things, because I am capable of inference.
Well, that's fair. I don't know. I mean, I think that... I don't know. I mean, how... Okay, but at the same time, they had, whatever, 30 seconds to wrap up the episode. How would you have inferred then? Where your powers of inference now?
Okay, well, given that they had 30 seconds to wrap up the episode, I think, what if they just had Peter disappear and then have everyone react as though it never happened? Like, because, I mean, what happens in that scene is Peter disappears from the room. Like, we see him vanish. But no one acts as though someone just vanished. They just carry on as though nothing strange just happened.
True.
So I have a feeling, my feeling is that you can end that there and just have the audience be like, what just happened? Or you can use dramatic music to cue us into the fact that something important just happened without specifically telling us, oh, Peter was erased from the timeline or something of that nature. Or you can, I don't know, you can show us an old photo of Olivia and Walter without Peter after having earlier in the episode showed us that photo of the three of them together. Like, earlier in the episode when Peter's about to go to what he thinks is his death, then you can have them reminisce about the good times and have this photo in front of us where they're like, oh, remember all the good time where we saved some guy with translucent skin? And then here's us laughing afterwards. And Astrid's there, and Walter's got Twizzlers or something. But then at the end of the episode, you pan over and you see that the same photo is there, but Peter's not in there. Like, and then, the viewers can go, what the hell just happened, or they can, draw conclusions in their head. And then in the premiere of the next episode, what you do is you show how this world is different without Peter. And then, those who haven't figured it out will figure out, oh, I guess Peter never existed in this world. And they did that to some extent in this. Like, I think they did a really good job of showing how Walter has changed as a result of Peter never having been part of his adult life. Mm-hmm. But they, on top of that, they also had the observer, just tell us things like, "Oh, this world is different now." That like,
well, I don't hate to break it to you.
What?
But that's what observers do, man.
Okay, but
they tell you stuff.
No, they don't. They observe stuff.
Well, they and observing requires observations, and they're just sharing their observations a little bit louder than usual. Okay.
Yeah, if the observers were in the business of telling people stuff, then this would be a very different show, my friend. We'd know what the observers are, for one thing.
Hey, I thought... No, wait, I guess not. I don't know. But, I mean, I think that, like... I don't know. Actually, just in general, the observers don't seem to be doing much observing anymore. They actually seem to be... I mean, like, with the whole... That one observer... And I don't know, it's like... I feel like this observer is our observer, because he's always the one that has to do stuff.
Well, yeah, he's the one who helped Walter save the other Peter. Right. And I believe... I guess he... As a result of that, he's been working towards erasing Peter from the timeline, I guess?
I guess.
The impression I've gotten is that the Observer now has this problem whereby Peter seems to be insufficiently erased. Peter is just not erased enough for the Observer's satisfaction. And so that leads me to believe that the entire... The Peter, all that Peter really wants is for Joshua Jackson to just go away.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, and then at the end of the episode, he kind of doesn't. Like, he's got a chance to sort of... He's got his little, doohickey working, and then he doesn't do...
Hickey.
It. Yes.
I don't know. I imagine we'll be seeing Peter return. It's just, I'm wondering whether the timeline is going to be put back the way it was, or whether when Peter returns, he's going to have to return to a timeline that has no memory of him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If we're just going to have to go forward with that.
Right. I mean, I don't think that Fringe. The thing that concerns me is Fringe has never been a show about time travel or changing history. It's always been about, I guess there was that one episode involving time travel, but it's primarily been concerned. I guess if you can say it's explored the physics of anything. It's explored the physics of parallel universes, and it's not really explored the physics of time, if that makes any sense. And I don't think it does, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
But, so I think that if Fringe wants to play by a certain set of rules, I'm okay with that. I would just want to see what these rules are. Like, I mean, erasing someone from the timeline, what does that do? Presumably that means that this person never existed, so that their actions were never performed. But does that mean that the universe sort of compensated around them, or what?
It would seem to be that for the most part, the universe has preserved things the way they are.
Right.
I wonder whether fake Olivia or other Olivia still has a kid.
Right.
One thing, and this is going to send me off into another rant, so be warned.
Okay.
It seems that, like, for the most part, things have been preserved, but with the one exception of the character of Lincoln. And now Lincoln was introduced towards the end of season 2.
Right.
And he was recurring throughout season 3 and we're talking about the version of Lincoln from the other world.
Right.
And then late in season 3, there was an episode where we met the Lincoln of our world, and he sort of helped out the Fringe division, was initially skeptical, got over his skepticism, sort of got into it, and said, if you ever need any help, call me. And they're like, oh, okay, we might do that. And then in this season 4 premiere, because of the changes to the timeline, whereas many things have been preserved, for some reason that wasn't. And so, right. And we have an observer who tells us that wasn't. He stands there saying, oh, he used to know her. He says that. And then they meet Lincoln, this version of Lincoln. They work on a case with him. He's initially skeptical, but he gets over it. Is very helpful to them, and then says, you know what, give me a call if you ever need any help. And I feel like we didn't need to do that again. That character has, I don't remember the actor's name, but he's been promoted to a regular this season, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing him in almost every episode, if not every episode.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I think I think that it's kind of... I want to say it's kind of good to start off fresh with this character. Just because, bringing back a recurring character from previous seasons and sort of assuming that the audience is going to know what's going on, I don't know if that's, like, a good way to start off a season of a show. And, it's kind of weird to sort of erase... Yeah, I see what you're saying, though. And that is kind of weird. They
could have just made him part of the team and said, oh yeah, Lincoln's been part of the team for years. And they could have just started off like that. I don't know. That I feel like, I don't know. You know what it reminds me of? How much of Buffy the Vampire Slayer did you watch?
I watched into I want to say season 4. Not the whole way through season 4 though.
Well, there's this thing that happens at the beginning of season 5 that's actually kind of similar to what happens at the beginning of season 4 of Fringe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The fabric of reality is changed, and a character is inserted that wasn't there before. And everyone's memories are changed such that they all think that character has been there all along.
Huh.
And one wonderful thing that Buffy does is Buffy does not explain this. Buffy just Buffy doesn't even tell you ahead of time why it's happened. It just asks you to accept it, shows you how the world is different, and then maybe 4 episodes into the season, it starts having people sort of questioning those memories and wondering whether their memories are real and whether that character has been unnaturally inserted. And only then does it address the questions that the viewers might rightly be asking.
That's interesting. I can only think that the reason that this is being, that the reason that they are using observers to push the plot forward and sort of explain things that would have taken longer to show, I want to believe that it's because they have a lot to cover in this season, because I'm assuming that they're not going to be renewed for a 5th season.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, like, it seemed to me, and I wasn't really watching this closely, but it seemed like the rating, like, it seemed like Fringe got renewed by the skin of its teeth.
It's gotten renewed by the skin of its teeth every year, though.
Well, that's true.
Every year it's been on the bubble. The amber bubble, so to speak. The bubble of amber.
But yes. I think that if nothing else, what I really want to see... actually, one of the things this episode for me sort of felt a lot like Season 6 of Lost, where we were shown something that... in which something had not occurred, and we were sort of being shown how things were different.
Right.
And you know, obviously at the end of Lost, we found out that wasn't really what was going on at all. Although that was sort of what was going on, it just wasn't, you know, well, yeah. Anyway, so yeah. I'm actually kind of wondering if they're going to pull a similar stunt in Fringe. And, you know, this is all, I don't know, not real or something. I don't know.
I do not think they would do that.
I hope they wouldn't. But I'm ever wary.
I don't know. You know, we now have on Fringe, we have 5 different worlds.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah,
we have
that's
5
right.
different worlds on Fringe. We have the original world. We have the other world. We have the possible future original world. We have the altered timeline original world and the altered timeline other world.
True.
It's a lot of worlds.
That is a lot of worlds.
I think
it's a lot to...
I don't know. Let's get some more in there, up in the mix.
Stack on more worlds.
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered whether there are other worlds or whether it's just these 2. I think maybe we're supposed to understand that there are many worlds. It's just these 2 happen to have been interrelated by the fact of what Walter did.
Right. That would make sense.
I guess. So, I take it you're looking forward to the rest of the season of Fringe.
I am.
I think I am. I'm not. I don't think it's as strong of a premiere as seasons 2 or 3 had, but I think it's. I'm looking forward to see where it goes.
Me too.
You've been listening to The Cloister Room, a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. To find out more about that podcast I just mentioned, you can go to thecloisterroom.com, and there everything will be explained to your satisfaction. So until next week, I've been Tom Dickinson.
And I've been Louis Midas. See you in another life, brother.